Good morning, this is Kelley Hopart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm here on Technique Tuesday, and we are going to be finishing up our shift. It's a cowl, and it's by Andrea Mowry, and here's a little look at what that pattern looks like. And you can get that on Alpaca Direct. I don't know if you're familiar with Andrea Mowry's patterns, but they're fabulous and totally fun. And I talked about last week about how you can do this cowl on a budget. And I wanted to show you that I have my cowl right here, and I haven't completely seamed it all the way up the back because you and I are going to take a look at that, and I'm going to do some seaming with you so you can see how I seam my projects using the mattress stitch. And also I wanted to take a look at our yarn that we used, and here were two different colorways, and these were the two yarns that we had voted on for last week. And which one won, Jim?
I'll leave that for the end.
You don't know which one won?
Yeah, I do, but we'll say in the end.
Okay. Well, anyways, we have the purple colorway or the fall colorway or red colorway, and I knit mine using this colorway right here, and this is my leftover. And if you look at it, here's the new ball, and here's the other ball. I think I'm going to have enough to be able to do two cowls. And if you look, I used Ultra Alpaca Light, and I purchased two. Actually, I had the red skein and the black skein that I purchased of Ultra Alpaca Light. And then this was just a little bit leftover. And I think that I may come very close to being able to do a whole nother cowl with that. And I was thinking, if you had chose this fall colorway, it would be nice. These would be some nice options for colors for that cowl too. And if you haven't used Ultra Alpaca Light before, it's a fantastic yarn. It has 50% alpaca and 50% wool. So you get the lovely warm characteristics of alpaca, and you get the durability of wool. So it's totally fantastic. And they work wonderfully with this Stark 6 that we had.
So tell them what your fancy, is that a cowl or your shawl around your neck?
This cowl, no, it's a shawl. And it was our sea breeze shawl from our December project. And I finished it up using a picot bind off, and I added this section, the whole green section and the blue section and the light blue section, from just little scraps of leftovers that I had that were left over from the actual patterning.
And what yarn was that?
This was also Ultra Alpaca Light. It was this yarn. And so, anyway, I'm so glad I finished this. And it's perfect timing, too, because how many inches of snow have we had?
We got about a foot today, I think.
Yeah, a lot of snow. Matter of fact, when I went to pull in here, my car had the anti-locking brakes, and I was only going like 20 miles an hour, and it wouldn't let me stop. It just went right on by, so I had to pull into the hardware or the lumber store and turn around and come back to get into our driveway, just because of that slippery old snow that's left over on the ground. So back to the Shift Cowl. This was a really fun project, and it's using Mosaic Knitting. And if you look at Mosaic Knitting, it almost gives the fabric a three-dimensional look to it. It's totally fantastic. I totally love it.
Hey, everyone's coming on board. Marilyn and Debbie, I see all these names going by.
I started seaming here, and I was going to work and see if we can do a little seaming together. Now, when I'm doing seaming, I love to take my little safety pins and kind of mark it where it needs to go, so that when I get to the end, I don't have one side sticking way up. So you can ease it in, and I'll show you how to do that. So, we will go ahead and take a look at that in just a minute here. I also wanted to talk about my New Year's resolutions for 2020, and I wanted to read them to you. And okay, so these are just kind of ideas that I had for myself. Did you want to talk about the contest, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, so for every week we have a little contest, and we vote on a couple colorways that we're going to use. And the way that you enter to win some free yarn is you post comments in the comment section. Maybe you tell us about what you're working on. if you have a really exciting pattern or a skill or anything like that, that was totally awesome. Peggy Mowry shared with us in our VIP group a wonderful technique. So if you guys haven't joined the VIP group yet, you should take a look at that, because there are so many fantastic dinners there that are totally terrific, and you can get some great ideas. Peggy was talking about a technique for jogless stripes, and it was a different technique than what I had seen. And so I haven't started my project using that technique yet, but I plan on it because it looks really totally awesome. So join that VIP group if you get the chance to, or you're interested in learning new things, which I'm sure you probably are if you're listening to me, because I'm all about learning new things. And you can join that, and it's free. And then you can share your ideas or get help from wonderful knitters and just a terrific group of people on that VIP group. So take a look at that. Also for this week, for our contest, we have 2 different selections, and I like this number 71. It has, I don't know, it's really girly colors.
What is it?
It's called Knit Cowl, and this is a yarn that's made by Andrea, and if we look at it, it is, I'm trying to see where it says that it's superwash wool, but it is superwash wool. It says don't spin it, but you can machine wash it. And it is a great yarn. Totally fantastic. I love how it stripes out. And we had talked about this before. I had this little sweater that is called the Stripes on Stripes baby sweater, and it's made out of the Knit Cowl. It's just a different colorway, but totally cute little yarn.
Where's the hat? Let me see the hat.
Here's the, oh yeah, this is the 1898 hat that I made, just a pint-sized one, and then changed the top. Anyway, it's totally cool.
Perfect for grandkids.
Yes, well, we're just using it as a sample in the store, but I have a lot of projects that I knit for babies, and so those ones go to the actual recipients. So now back to my goals, right?
Oh, what was the other colors though? You didn't show me the other color.
Oh, this one is, don't you think this looks like Seahawks? So if we're going to vote, we're going to choose the purple or the teal colors, or Seahawks. And I thought that was really cool, just because we had watched that game, and we were very excited about the game, even though our Seahawks didn't win, darn it. Shucks. Oh well. Anyways, it's all good. It was a good game. Anyway, it was a lot of fun to watch. So now back to my New Year's resolutions for 2020. Okay, so I'm just going to read them to you. It says complete at least 4 unfinished projects, and I'm sure that I will be doing many more than that, but I always make my goals measurable, and so I had to write in a number. So I said at least 4, and then I have just recently sorted through my projects and reorganized my whole closet that I have all my yarns in, and we redid that whole thing, right, Jim?
Oh yeah.
So it's totally cool. But I can do more. I can always do more. Go through it and even maybe weed out a few of those projects that I haven't quite finished, that I'm maybe not quite as excited as I was before, and just repurpose the yarn and use it for something else. So I'm going to do that. That's one of my goals. And then I want to start my Christmas gifts at the beginning of the year and not toward the end of the year. It'll make it so much easier for me, because I want to be able to knit at least one item or maybe crochet something for each person in our family. So that is my goal for this year. And then I am, as always, writing patterns, and I want to improve my pattern writing skills. So I always am trying to become better and better at things. So that's an area that I want to improve. Be able to write patterns, write them more quickly, and write them clear so that they're easy for people to follow. So those are my goals so far for 2020 that I have. And so I'm really excited about that. And last year I had met almost every single one of my goals. And I think that, what is the percentage, Jim, that of goals that if you write them
it's like
down
90%.
It's like a 90% increase in meeting your goals if you write them down on paper, which is, Jim always tries to get me to do my day planner on my devices, and I still like the paper copy. And so I always do that. And I'm famous for taking something that I'm maybe is inspiring or something and just pinning it on my mirror in the bathroom. And that way when I go in to get ready in the morning, I can take a look at it. And it reminds me of what I'm working on. And so I never keep that, it's never far from my memory of what my goals are and what I'm working on. So that's just a thought for all of you out there. If you have goals, put them on your mirror. You'll be more apt to complete them if you remember what they are. Totally cool. Anyway, so I was working on this shift pattern, and it's a really super cute cowl with an I-cord bind off using 2 different colors, which I thought was totally cool. And I wanted to just take 1 second. You guys had all said that you wanted to see maybe what the mosaic knitting is like. And I told you that it's basically slip stitches. And so I'm going to be going through a couple of these skills for you. And I think the first thing that I'm going to do is be doing a little bit of seaming. And let me show you my little, the little safety pin type stitch markers are great for this because you can pin it and you know that it keeps you right on target as far as making sure that your fabric stays even when you're seaming it together. And so I started here, and when I'm seaming, if you look on the back of my seams, see it looks pretty flat, looks pretty good. And let me show you how I do that. So I'm seaming along here. So maybe when I get up here to this one, I'll take this safety pin and move it out of my way a little bit so that it can work. And I'm on this left hand side, so I go back over to the right hand side, and you go in where you came out of, and this is where I came out of because you can see that strand of yarn right there, and you would just go straight into there. And then I like to do 1 stitch, go up 1 bar in my work, but if it gets to where I need 2 to ease it in, then I'll do that too. But let's try 1 and see what that does. And also, as you're seaming, you don't need to tighten it up really tight. You can do several stitches before you tighten it up. So you can see the loops on this side are bigger than the loops on the other side. So I have to ease it in on the right hand side where the loops are smaller. And you just go, what I like to do is pick up the smallest strand that I can pick up and then go through it like that. And then I'll show you after I do a few. Maybe I'm going to ease it in and go through 2 bars on this one. So you just try to find the bar. See that bar right there? Let me show it to you. 1 second. It should be that stitch right there. So if I open this one up, I can get just that bar. See, there's the bar. And then if I wanted to do 2 of them, I go to the next one and try and pull just the orange strand from the next one. So that's 2 bars. And then I go back to this one, and this one's pretty wide. And I'm just gonna try and pull 1 little one there. And then you just keep going back and forth until you get all the way to the top, and you're going in right where you came out of. Okay? So, let's see. And then go
you're seaming together the mosaic cowl, right?
Yes, this is called the mattress stitch. And this one is called the Shift by Andrea Mowry. And she writes really nice patterns. If you haven't tried her patterns before, they're beautiful paper copy. They're almost like coffee table work. So after you've done a few stitches, what you can do is just kind of take your finger. What you don't want it to get too tight, but you want to pull it tight so it looks good. And do you see how it's nice and flat? And if you look right here, let me show you this as I'm going along. Do you see this right here? These are knit stitches here, you can see the two either side of it, and it's maintained all the way along here, so it looks really nice. And so that's how I do it, and it's basically by blocking the fabric first and then rolling it out so you get the very back edge of your stitch, so you create as little bulk as possible, which makes your whole project feel better and look better. And like I said, you don't have to tighten it up until you've done several stitches, and then you just want to tighten it up so it's about the same gauge as you're knitting, the same tightness. You don't want to turn it into a solid brick. If you pull it too tight, it's going to become kind of stiff, and you want to avoid that. So that's how easy seaming is. Now I was also had some comments from people about how to weave in ends, and I thought this was kind of cool, because right here was where I had a break in the yarn, and what happened is the two yarns kind of got felted together, and when I tried to pull it apart, it actually tore the yarn. And so it was no fault of my own. What I should have been doing is I should have been untangling my yarns better as I went along, but I didn't. I let it get too tangled, and then I had a hard time untangling it, which actually broke the strand of yarn. So if you see, I have these two strands, and what I did to make it one continuous piece is not tying a knot, but just tying the start of a knot, just tying them like that. And what it does is make the strands look the same as the other strands. And then I would thread my darning needle, and then this strand that's going over here is going to go to the right, be woven to the right, and the one that's on the left is going to be woven to the left. And when I'm weaving my ends in, of course we always weave our ends in from the back of our work, but there's more to it than that. What I like to do is I would go under a strand, and I do basically duplicate stitch is what I'm doing. So I'm going, here's the purl bump at the bottom of a stitch, and then I'm just following those loops that look like horseshoes, and I'm following them and going back and forth, just weaving my ends in that way. Now, the things that I'm thinking of when I'm weaving in ends is to make sure that my tension is about the same as my knitting. If you weave it in too tightly, then you have a bunched look. If you weave it in too loose, then you have a sloppy looking thing. So you don't want something that's kind of puckered and tight, nor do you want something that is loose and unsightly. So you want your tension. What you can always do when you're weaving in your ends, if you need to, is you'll see that I kind of stretch my fabric in a couple different directions, and then that way I can make sure that I'm staying on target as far as my tension being about what the knitting looks like. And then you could see that I'm just following these stitches back and forth and trying to keep that tension about the same as my actual knitting. And so I pull it a little tight and then just pull it in like that. And then let's see what it looks like on the other side. So you can't really see anything on the other side. And let's go back again and take a look at this. And here, right in here, was where I wove it in. Right in here. And so that is how I weave in my ends when I do things. A couple of things to think about when you're weaving in your ends. If you're going to weave in your ends, don't mess around with the edge. Get away from the edge and weave in your ends. It makes your project look better. So right here is another spot where I wove my ends in, and I try to keep color to color. So if I'm weaving in with orange, I would try to keep my orange near the red or near the orange. If I'm weaving in black, I would keep my black up in the black area, so that you're not focusing on that color change of where the colors were woven in. So those are just a couple of things to think about when you're doing that. So now let's see if we can take a look. I started another cowl because, like I said, I will have enough yarn to go ahead and do another cowl using this leftover Stark 6. And I have this, what is this tape called again, Jim?
I don't know.
It's like a sticky tape that you can take on and off. It's like a transparent, you can see through it. And so it is totally awesome. So if we look here on our, we have the colors, different colors. I've identified here, A is my multicolor, B is my red. And so right now I am knitting with my B because it's right here. And we're going to be knitting for, all right.
What are you showing here?
This is Mosaic Knitting, and it's so super simple. So what I'm doing, if you look here on my stitches, I am slipping one and knitting one. This is the mosaic part. So the stitch from before that I had slipped from the row before, you go ahead and slip it again, and you're knitting the ones that you had knit from the row before. And so you go all the way across. And this is what gives the three-dimensional look to your actual project. So I'm knitting and slipping, knitting and slipping. And making sure that when you're slipping stitches, the slip part of it is on the back of your work. And this one says to the last, oops, one second here, dropped a stitch, to the last 2 stitches. And then I am going to be going knit one, and then I'm going to purl one. And then we go back and forth every few rows, going from one color yarn to another color yarn. See how it looks kind of raised on the back of it? It is really kind of cool. I like mosaic knitting. It's super, super easy. So let's see if we can do one more row so you can see this one. So in every so many rows, it tells you to increase, all right? And so this time it says use A, which is my multicolor. And using A, I am going to slip one with the yarn in back, and I just slipped that knitwise. And it doesn't really identify in the pattern. And it is a knit one, and then I make one right. And if you remember, make one right is you grab from the rear with your left-hand needle, and it makes this V. And then I just pull it open and hold it with my thumb so I can easily make one right. And then it says to knit to the last 3 stitches. So I'm knitting all the way across. And then on the last 3 stitches, we're going to be doing a make one left. And so this shawl, or cowl, shall I say, there is a shawl pattern as well that's called Night Shift. So I'm going to be doing a make one left. There you go. And then I'm going to slip the last 3 stitches with the yarn in front. Isn't that awesome? Let's see what this looks like. Oops, it was right here. So this is the beginning of the mosaic knitting. And all it is slip stitches. Isn't that cool? So for all of you out there that would like to do a project with using mosaic knitting, you can do it. It's so cool. All it is slip stitches, and it makes this really lovely fabric. And I'll show you again right here what this looks like.
When you did that, this yarn was a little bit more affordable than some of the other ones, right?
It's right. Totally affordable. Isn't that cool? So that cowl, and it looks really, actually it looks kind of cool on the backside too. It's a neat pattern, I like it. And the back of it, I like how the colors go together. So it'll be a really cute cowl.
You'll have to wear it tomorrow or next week.
I'll wear it. Yeah, totally like that. Anyways, all right, so now we are, oh yes, for all of you out there that have gotten the knit club for January. This was a helix stripe hat. It was Felix, the helix stripe hat, right? It's all sold out. So for those of you that have just signed up, you will be getting the next month's knit club, and of course that's a surprise. But I have been working very hard on it, and it'll involve a few new skills, and I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be fun. So anyways, now, for all of you out there, don't forget to let us know what the prize will be for this next week. Do we want number 71, which is kind of feminine colors?
Purple?
Or do we want Seahawks colors?
So is it purple or Seahawks?
This is 64 or 71.
Okay.
7164. And so you guys vote, and then what we do is whoever wins, we ask that they get in contact with the customer service so we can get your address, and we send it out in the mail. It's that easy. It's totally cool. So we have a winner for this last week, which was one of these Star 6 colorways in either the purple or the fall colors. And that was Anna Abbott. Oh, and the color was purple. This was the winning color.
But it was pretty close. There were a lot of people like the fall color.
Oh yeah, too. I love this yarn. And if you do make that the cowl, you will have enough yarn to make two. All you would have to do is use your base colors, and I'm sure I'm going to be able to make two because I have so much left of mine. So we'll see how it goes. But Anna Abbott, congratulations, you won. So that's totally cool. Now, this next week, what I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to be talking about the adventure, and it was a knit along with Amba O'Brien. So I will be talking about that. And for all of you out there, if you like the look of Mosaic Knitting, which is this, don't be afraid to try it. Try one of Andrea Mowry's patterns. They're very well written. I have never found an error anywhere in it, and I had great fun doing it. And it's always, you know, a rhythmic, enjoyable experience. So, you guys, if you like doing, and they also have one that's called the night shift. If you don't like cowls, you can do a shawl. Totally awesome. And don't forget to share with your buddies. If you're learning something new or you have any ideas for that you want to know about, like we had this one customer that just asked us yesterday, how would you make a triangular shawl? How is that different from an asymmetrical shawl or a crescent shawl? Meaning, how do you do the different increases to get the different looks? And so that was an idea for an upcoming Technique Tuesday, and that I'll be talking about. So that's totally cool for those of you out there. Thank you for all the great suggestions, and thank you for sharing with your buddies, so they can learn too. And so, yes, so next week we're going to be talking about the Amba O'Brien project, and you guys, now, when I was showing you how to do the mattress stitch, I know a lot of you guys hate finish work. Learn to embrace finish work. Because you know what? Learning to do it is not that hard. If you tell yourself it's fun, I'm going to make it look as beautiful as I can possibly make it, you'll get so good at it, you can't see where your seams are. So that alone is enough of an encouragement to enjoy it. So I hope you guys have a great week. Stay safe during the snowy weather and enjoy wearing your knit projects because it's cold outside. I mean, we're going to get down to below 0 degrees, right, Jim?
-5, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be cold. So I am enjoying my nice winter wear now. So you guys take care, have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday.